They tell you everything you need to know about global politics by Tim Marshall. Every leader is constrained by the geography of their country. They're limited in what they can do and achieve simply by the land they inhabit, by the mountains, the rivers, the coastline. And they pretty much all behave in the same way throughout history. They're all bound by their geography. So let's start with China. As Lucian Pye says, China is a civilization pretending to be a nation. China has a population of 1.4 billion. That's 1.4 billion people living in the same country under the same flag. And this is the thing. This is the catch-22 for China. It has to keep industrializing and modernizing to raise living standards. But that very process threatens its food production because now 40% of its arable land is polluted or simply unusable. It also has to keep its population employed. So China has a pact with the global economy. We'll make the stuff cheap. You buy it cheap. But to make it cheap, you need the resources, the oil, the minerals, the gas. Now, modern China is secure in its land borders. To the north is Mongolia and the added security of the Gobi Desert. To the east is Russia, which, if not perfect friends, is certainly ideologically aligned. To the west, an uneasy relationship with Vietnam is maintained, and then there's the inhospitable terrain of both Laos and Myanmar. And then there's Tibet. And China has to control Tibet. The Himalayas create a natural Great Wall of China, but the actual border is the Tibetan-Indian border. And this is China's geopolitics of fear. If China doesn't control Tibet, India could. And if India controlled Tibet, it would control the sources of China's three great rivers, the Yellow, the Yangtze, and Mekong. And China, a country with almost the same volume of water usage as America, but a population 5 times larger, simply won't allow that to happen. So with its borders secure, China needs to expand overseas. Until now, China has never been a naval power. It was a land, with a lot of people, but now it must secure its routes through the South China Sea, both to get its goods to market and, crucially, to get the items they need to make those goods, the minerals, the gas and oil. Hence its ever-growing navy. China's intention is clear, to become a two-ocean power, the Pacific and the Indian. And it achieves this by investing in deep water ports in Myanmar, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and specifically in Sri Lanka. In 2016, it loaned the money to the Sri Lankan government to build the port of Hambantota. China was then able to lease it back from the Sri Lankan government when they couldn't afford the repayments. At a stroke, China acquired a new naval base, 15,000 acres of land, and a strategic base a few hundred miles from one of its main strategic rivals, India. And China is building ports in Kenya, railways in Angola, and dams in Ethiopia. They are scouring the length and breadth of Africa for minerals and precious metals. They have a lease on the new deep-water port of Gwadar in Pakistan and built natural gas and oil pipelines linking the Bay of Bengal up to southwest China. By expanding overseas, China is ensuring it keeps its deal with the people. We'll make you better off. You will follow orders. Because if they can't maintain this pact, if it stops or goes into reverse, then the deal is off. And inevitable social unrest could be, like everything else in modern China, on a scale hitherto unseen. That's just a taste of how author Tim Marshall brilliantly describes the way modern-day China's actions are predicated by its geography. And in some of the other chapters, he explains, in his easy-to-understand way, why, for instance, Russia is, and always has been, obsessed with Crimea and having access to its warm water port. How Europe and Africa developed so differently simply because of the geographical nature of their respective rivers, and how America was destined to look expansively overseas because it has access to the two massive oceans, the Pacific and the Atlantic.